Good afternoon, I'm Dianne Barlow. Welcome to our webinar on getting retirement ready. Transitioning to retirement is terrifying and confronting on many levels, but at least if you have prepared financially, it will take a lot of the worry and stress away. We're going to cover off today how we set retirement goals, understanding what your time frame is, crafting a personalised wealth plan, optimising your income and investments. We want to make sure your investments fit for purpose and working hard. We'll also talk about the decumulation strategies and calculating, of course, your retirement number. I'm Dianne Barlow. This is me. In my prior life, I was a chartered accountant for 28 years, and I first came across Enable Me about 15 years ago, and we worked as a client with Hannah McQueen, the founder of Enable Me. We have been living to the principles of Enable Me since then, and I've had the pleasure of working with motivated clients to improve their financial future for over a decade. As you'll appreciate, this is generalised information. I cannot give personalised advice without meeting you and knowing what your goals are, what your timeline is, and your situation. But there will be a special offer at the end if you'd like to meet with me or one of our other strategic coaches for a 90-minute financial consultation. A lot of people, this is the current reality in New Zealand of retirees. Most retirees feel they have to compromise on what they can do. They don't feel they have enough money to do the things they want. There's a lot of parents still financially supporting their adult children. And unless we get, if we get more disciplined and get a financial plan, the next generation isn't going to be so good as well. Because research shows that 50% of Kiwis that are currently working feel they're not prepared for retirement. 34% feel that they could maintain their current lifestyle, which is our goal, for only 10 years after stopping work. And 70% feel that they will need to work past retirement age. Just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with working past retirement, but we want that to be an option, not a necessity. So these are some of the options that can fund your retirement. Some people are happy to work longer, but it does depend on health and the type of job you have. You know, it's harder if you've got a manual job as opposed to an office job. The other thing to consider that I see with my clients is often there's an age difference between people, and practically the younger partner may stop work when the older person stops, because let's face it, you want to enjoy retirement and do those trips and have time together. Sorry, right. Some people rely on downsizing your home. Once again, as we go into retirement, it's preferable to have a low maintenance home. So moving from a larger, older home to a low maintenance home may not release as much equity as we'd hope. Some people know they'll be getting inheritances and happy to rely on that. Some people have businesses to sell, etc. And of course, for some of us, there will be a New Zealand superannuation and KiwiSaver. Now, KiwiSaver, unless you've been in it for 30 years or so, may not give as much as we would hope. What is the solution to enjoying a comfortable retirement? First of all, start thinking about it, and good on you for attending this webinar, but it's action that gets results. Regardless of your retirement number, i.e. how much you need to cover your lifestyle for 25 or 30 years, we need to grow wealth. And wealth in retirement creates options for these things. What you do, what sports and hobbies you do, where and how you live, whether you can retire early or scale back your hours. It can also influence the level of care you receive and leaving a legacy or helping your children. And don't forget, sometimes we can't actually work till 65. There may be job losses or health concerns, which mean that you don't work to that magic number. Your wealth plan needs to be flexible, dynamic, fit for purpose, and based on your current lifestyle and the known one-off spends that you need to incorporate. For example, we know our cars aren't going to last forever. There will be car replacements. There could be some renovations or house maintenance that we need to plan for. Obviously, we don't know how long we will live for. This is a tricky thing. So we do need to build in buffers so that we can, and we need to have good financial habits and clarity of spending and how much life costs. We need to start off by understanding what is our retirement number. So roughly your annual lifestyle cost times 25 gives our first bit. We want to, if possible, be mortgage-free on our home. Having financially independent kids is a great asset as well. So we need to figure out what we need. We need to understand what we're going to accumulate in the next years of working life until we do stop work. And is there going to be a gap? Once we know if there is a gap, we need a plan in place to bridge it. And of course, the longer we have to bridge the gap, the better, because it's time in the market, not about timing the market. Financial success, 80% is about our day-to-day behaviour with money, and this is where we need a strong financial foundation. We need good money habits, we need to set goals, we need to eliminate any fritter and understand how much our comfortable lifestyle costs. If we have goals and targets, we're more likely to not do impulse buying, etc. And of course, we want our mortgage optimised and paid off as quickly as possible, and KiwiSaver working as hard as possible for us. More on KiwiSaver in a mo. These are some of the things we hear from our clients. So anecdotally, this is what people say, oh, you know, it's the timing's not right, or it's too late for me to start, or I need more some money to build my nest egg. I'd like to challenge you on all those things. We know the cost of living has been tough on many Kiwis, but most of us cannot afford to wait until conditions are perfect. And even, look, if you think a couple of years ago, interest rates were 2.5%, 3%. Were people smashing down their mortgages? Not necessarily. In a lot of cases, they were just doing an extra holiday, etc. So if we do need to get going now. Conditions will never be perfect, and there are more risks than waiting, and the biggest one is inflation. It's never, ever too late to start, but the later you leave it, the more pressure you're putting on, you're introducing. So growing wealth strategies, of course, need time to work. You don't need a lot to get started, but you do need action. You need the right structure and systems in place to get moving. As I've already said, the earlier you start, the more options you have, the more time you have for those options to work, the sooner that we can identify any problems and we can solve those problems. KiwiSaver definitely helps, but it's only one part. This This is an example of a single person living alone. So lifestyle was costing 80,000. If we multiply that by the 25 years of retirement, that is about 2 million. There'll be some New Zealand superannuation coming in, about 700k, and some KiwiSaver, but there's still a sizable gap. And just calling out here that the average KiwiSaver balance for 56 to 60-year-olds in this year is only 65,000. So because KiwiSaver started later, we haven't got the whole time, 30 years to accumulate. Now, this graph looks confusing, but let's start here. These people have a mortgage. They were on track, if we follow the dotted line, to pay that mortgage off at 65. And they'll have some KiwiSaver. So the KiwiSaver would cover their lifestyle for about 4 years till 69. Now, if back here they were really focused on paying down their mortgage earlier, which is what we would recommend, and they got mortgage free by 55, that gives them an extra 10 years to accumulate a whole lot more investments and savings. And that, if we just multiply that out, would cover their lifestyle till 80, which is amazing. Not good enough in my book. I like my clients to aim for about 90. So at this stage, they need a solid wealth plan to extend and get that extra 10 years of lifestyle costs. Different investments, of course, we balance risk and return, and the larger the gap, the more risk you would need to take, and that is not ideal. To be honest, if your retirement gap is greater than 300,000, you are probably going to need to use leverage to bridge it. And leverage, I'm going to show you a quick example. These percentages are not relevant. They're not true returns. They're just an example. But if you have some cash, 160,000, you pop that in managed funds at 6% return. It's about 9,600 a year. If you use that 160,000 as a deposit on an investment property and borrowed from the bank and bought an investment property of about, say, 800,000 times 6%, that's 48,000, capital growth, etc. So you can see the power of leverage. I'd like you to meet Jim and Kathy. These guys, 51 and 52, they had a retirement gap of 550,000. Back in 2020, they bought an investment property in Tauranga, spending about 665,000. You might say, oh, it was easy back then and it was cheap. Well, back then, 665 was still the market value of properties. We were just going through COVID, so the economy wasn't very good and jobs were uncertain. But these guys pulled out all the stops, got themselves an investment property, and over the last 5 years, it has grown in value 195,000. And I can tell you right now, there's no way that they would have saved 195,000 in that 5 years. Now they're on track to close their retirement gap, and if they hold that investment property for another 5 to 10 years, they will be able to have an incredible retirement. There are a lot of tactics you can use for paying for your lifestyle and retirement. You can try to live off the returns of your investments, but you need a huge amount of capital to actually do that. For most of us, we are eroding our capital throughout retirement, but hopefully we still have a mortgage-free home at the end that the kids can have. So you can withdraw a set amount each year, you can withdraw a set percentage, or you can use the bucket system. That's my preference, where you have a savings account with with a bank for 3 to 5 years of living expenses, and you have some fixed income securities such as term deposits, bonds, etc. And then you have some growth investments as well. So with this approach, you draw down from your savings account, and then when your other investments do well, you top up your savings account. This enables you to avoid selling assets at a loss. Now, when we look at retirement, we've kind of got 3 phases. The first 5 to 10 years, hopefully we're fit and well, doing all our bucket list items and traveling, etc. So we need access to the funds for that. And this is where it would be sitting probably in a high interest savings account. The next 10 years, we're less active, could be some health costs, etc. That bucket of funds would be invested in income and growth assets. And then what we don't need for further down the track can be invested in growth assets. And that stretches out the time before you're going to run out of funds. It's funny, we spend our whole life accumulating assets and investments, and then when you stop work, it can be extremely confronting to have to start dipping into investments. This is where having a plan and knowing that it gives you permission to enjoy the fruits of your hard work and have confidence that your money will last you. I have some clients who really are quite resistant into dipping into the investments. It's like, guys, this is what you worked for your whole life. Now is the time to enjoy. The tricky thing, of course, is we don't know how long we're going to live for, so it's hard to get it quite right. But yeah, we need to do our best, and if we've got a plan, we have a lot more certainty. Assets have to be protected. Insurance policies, have the right insurance policies in place. Please understand your biggest asset is your ability to earn. So this is where income protection is really important, because life would be very different if you weren't able to work, say, after 50 and you were planning till 65. Trusts, they can be useful to protect your beneficiaries. Really important that we have the right ownership structure for properties. Lawyers, accountants will help you with that. And relationship property, agreements, absolutely essential, especially with blended families. Now, your will is the key to ensuring that your loved ones are looked after and that you can leave a legacy. One of the most important things in making a will is choosing your executor. This executor is a person that you trust that will carry out your wishes. Your solicitor will help you with all these things, power of attorney, you're choosing people to make decisions when you're unable to, and it's nice to have a medical directive and living will so that your wishes are carried out. Now, legacies. Did you know that over the next 20 years, we will see the biggest transfer of wealth from the boomer generation to the next, estimated to be more than $1 trillion? Incredible. Families, are often torn apart because no one has talked about intentions or who's going to inherit what, how it's going to work. I find inheritance is very bittersweet. It's amazing that you've been left some money, but someone has worked so hard, so you don't want to squander it. And I have a few clients at the moment that are about to inherit some money, and they want to make sure it really sets themselves up and their future generations. So have those conversations with your family. Right, let's summarise. Understand where you need to be and your time frame, your retirement gap, what that figure is, and how long before you need to address that retirement gap, because it's not at 65. Some of your assets may last beyond that, like that example we saw. If you have investments, you need to understand if they're fit for purpose, are they working as hard as possible? If it's investment properties, older investment properties may need to be turned over to a newer one if there's repairs and maintenance to come. Determine how you will manage your finances once you retire, and of course protect your plan and retirement with adequate insurance. So how does Enable Me help you in all this? We assess your current financial situation to identify strengths, weaknesses and obstacles. We help our clients articulate clear financial goals, whether it's getting on the property ladder or paying off home mortgage or growing wealth. We want you to enjoy the journey, but you must have a line of sight on the end, on the end goal really, which is, in my mind, retirement. We'll also talk about what your natural money tendencies are and find surplus. Most of us are frittering 15%. So we want to find that surplus and put that fritter and put it to good use. And then we're going to craft a personalised strategy that aligns with your risk appetite, whether you are conservative or a bit more of an adventurer. And we provide guidance, motivation, accountability to help you stay focused on your long-term objectives. Remember, it is a marathon, not a sprint. And we all underestimate what we can achieve over 5 to 10 years, and we overestimate what we can do in a short time. Oops. These are our amazing coaches. They are all financial advisors, highly trained and skilled and experienced, and their job is to work with you and walk with you and work with you to help you achieve your best financial results. As promised, we have a special offer. If you would like to book in with a strategic coach or me, I am a strategic coach, but we have others. You can book a financial consultation for $149. It is normally $400. But to get that special price, you need to book tonight. You can book your meeting a few weeks out. And after tonight, the cost will be $249. This meeting is often life-changing for our clients. Come along, have an open mind and see what's possible. If the results are compelling, you may like to work with us on a year one program. This is when we dig into the details, the framework, and help you execute the plan. Our biggest feedback we get from clients is, I wish I had done this 10 years ago. We can't change the past, but let's have a wonderful future by paying attention to this important topic. All of us would love to have options when we retire. So why would you settle for okay when you can do better? We've got time for a few questions. Our producer's going to help us with that.
Thank you so much for your time and sharing your expertise, Dianne. We now have time for a Q&A from our audience, and thank you to everybody who has sent through a question. The first question I have here is it better to spread risk across several investments or have one main investment?
Absolutely, I think we need diversity. When we don't tend to think of our home as an investment, and most of us have KiwiSaver. So the idea is to pay down your mortgage as quickly as possible on your home so that you can leverage the equity and perhaps move into residential investment property. Once the debt on that property is paid down to break-even point, you may consider going back and investing more in managed funds. You've already got your KiwiSaver going, or you might buy another investment property, and that depends on your timeline. So managed funds and residential property are the two main investments that people tend to invest in, but of course there are others such as commercial buildings, etc.
Thank you, Dianne. And the second question is it too late to start at 52?
No, it is a perfect time. To be honest, most of us are pretty busy with kids and careers, etc., for quite a few years, and it's not until late 40s, early 50s where we finally have a bit of space or capacity to look up and think, oh, what does retirement look like? And yeah, that's a perfect time to get some strategies in place. You've got a couple of property circles that you can get through to make sure any investment properties are doing well. And of course, your managed funds and your KiwiSavers, they need to be optimized as well so that they're working as hard as possible.
Thank you, Dianne. That is all the questions that we have time for today. Sorry that we can't answer everyone's questions, but we do encourage if you have any questions about our financial consultations or our programs to email us via info@enable.me or call us at the number on our website. Thank you for attending today. You will receive a follow-up email with the code if you didn't quite manage to scan it, and have a great rest of your day.
Bye.